Ma'am, welcome to the FEDPreneur Show. And what mindset did you have to change your, to have a career switch?
Okay, this lady knows what she's talking about. Humanly, it is not possible to give 100% effort.
I feel like in entrepreneurship, usually females do get equal value than men. What do you think about that? Because
I strongly believe in celebrating every small step that we take.
do you still wish to complete your PhD?
Keep coming in that चलो ये भी कर ही लेते हैं to justify when people say doctor. That's as simple as that. Rather than going intangible, if you quantify, make it tangible, the possibility of conversion, the possibility of success becomes much higher.
Greetings everyone and welcome to another beautiful episode of the FEDPreneur Show. This one's a bit special because we have had our first female guest on the show. And also this is Women's Day special. She is none other than Ms. Surekha Routray, founder and managing director at Aashdit Foundation, and she was also the head of social incubation and CSR at KIITTBI. So all the inspiring entrepreneurs, stay tuned and have a good time binge watching. Surekha ma'am, welcome to the FEDPreneur Show. You are one of our first female guests on our show, so we are very excited to have you here. So before we start the podcast, I would like to tell the viewers a small story about how I actually met her. So recently, say a week ago, we attended a conclave which was organized by one of our organization. And it was a conclave, Voices of Change, and it was held in Hotel Swasti Premium. And it started in the morning, but because of my classes, I couldn't reach there on time. And we had 4 sessions. It was divided in 4 sessions, and we had 4 panelists in each of the sessions. She was there in the 3rd session, and I could make it before that. I came for the 2nd session, but I missed the 1st session. And I'm gonna be very honest, you had the most magnetic personality, if that's the word I could use. And I was just listening to her and everybody in the panel members, and then I was a little bit intimidated to go and approach to her, but then we went outside and then I talked to her and I invited her. That I told her what we are doing, we have a show, and if she could come as a guest. And she was very sweet to say anything for the kids. I remember her line. So, and here we are. So ma'am, how does it feel to be here?
I'm very excited. Excited to come back to this place after a long time. Excited to see young people like you and your team here wanting to make a difference to the society. I always keep telling everybody that entrepreneurship as a journey is best started in your educational lifespan, because that's when you have your safety net before going head on into this risky, lonely and very exciting and very energetic journey. If you start now, this is the best time. And when I see so many people actually taking this up, it really gives me hope that India has a great future.
Okay. So ma'am, you said it's great coming back here. So for the context, she was the head of social incubation in KIITTBI. But we'll talk about that later. Let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
So ma'am, what was your life earlier like? Did you always wanted to become an entrepreneur?
I think I have always been a very outspoken person, able to voice what I thought. Entrepreneurship per se was not something that I thought when I started my career. I have worked in the corporate for about 15 years, in the academia and the entrepreneurial ecosystem for another 7-8 years before I bit the entrepreneurship bullet. So, but then I think this is what was meant to be, because I think I'm more of a person who is good at taking decisions and giving commands than taking commands. And that's something that has evolved more and more with time.
I feel like that is a very important trait of a leader. So, ma'am, you said you worked in the corporate for 15 years. So,
Yes.
how is the corporate life like, and what mindset did you have to change your, to have a career switch? And what differences do you see in the corporate life and being an entrepreneur as a leader?
So when in my corporate life, I have worked both with startups and full-scale, very established organizations. When I started my corporate career here in India, I worked with a third-party administrator. That is a concept that had come in very new in the insurance domain. So the company for which I was working was also new. So we were ideating, making rules, changing rules, pivoting as per the changes. So I have seen the flexibility part of a corporate and lot of ability to take decisions and rise very fast. While when I was in the US, I have worked for a banking ecosystem where everything was very structured. Like the policies were set, the guidelines were set, your career map was more or less structured, your goals were more defined. So having worked in both of them, I think both had their pros and cons. And my learnings from all of this helped me start my entrepreneurial journey. And I have always wanted to come back to India. So even if I spent around close to 9 years in US, I was very sure I wanted to come back to India.
Alright, so you worked in the States. So what do you think could we do different here? To obviously they have better, like you said, they are more organized and structured. So what do you think we can do better here?
I think we are doing a lot of good things. I would rephrase the coinage of better to maybe what we can do different here is in terms of giving a little more responsibility to the middle management level. Here the responsibilities and the powers and the ability to suggest something in a corporate hierarchy is primarily limited to the senior management level.
Right.
The middle management does not have so much of an opportunity to opinionate, or even if they do opinionate, that is not taken very seriously. So a lot of ideas kind of get buried in the paperwork. So if we could make it more open for ideas to be treated on a more unbiased way for the growth of the corporates, I think there would be a huge positive traction for the corporate growth.
That's a very unique take. I personally have not heard something like this before, because you said the middlemen need to actually put forward their opinions and perceptions. But ma'am, I would like to know about your organization. So when we were talking earlier in the day, you said you wanted to talk about your entire group. So if you could just break down each sector of yours and just tell the audience, what do you all do?
Sure. So Aashdit as a group, we have 5 companies. I keep telling I have 6 sons and a daughter. 2 sons, my eldest son studies 3rd year engineering. My second son is in his 12th grade. My third son, which is Aashdit Technologies, turns 10 this year. Primarily we are into IT solutioning. We digitize processes, we provide solutions to everything that is being done manually and convert it into digital. We specialize in doing financial transactions, especially large scale transactions, which are to the tunes of lakhs and crores, converting that data and ensuring that the beneficiaries receive the correct amount of payment. We have digitized some of the landmark government schemes of the government of Odisha. We work for the governments of Odisha, Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. After my third son, I had twins. Aashdit Nutritech, which is primarily into food tech systems. We are working with natural moringa, millets, essential oils, an entire range of products are there. Primarily trying to revive what was existing in our Ayurveda and culture, validate it scientifically and bring it back to the society. Then we have Aashdit Foundation, which is my daughter. Aashdit Foundation is how I believe I am giving back to the society, building a more inclusive society, believing in equality of opportunity, equality to have a fair say, and protecting the environment so that the tomorrow has a tomorrow. So we call it building better futures or building better tomorrows. Then we have Aashdit Capital, where we are into wealth management. Primarily we deal with mutual funds and insurance and ensuring the HNIs wealth is managed properly so that they can focus on what they do best. So that's the platter that we have. Each company is some way interconnected to the other, kind of blending with each other. So the IT is the enabler for all our other companies. Nutritech is the founding force that is there, because in India, even today, agriculture is the primary contributor to the economy. And we are trying to ensure that agriculture as a professional becomes aspirational rather than something that people don't want to do. Foundation is a way of taking technology to the people who have been underserved. And HNIs, we manage to do better wealth management and also to create a corpus to ensure that the newer entrepreneurs someday would be able to connect with them and raise funds.
That's amazing. So, ma'am, how did you come up with this name, Aashdit?
Aashdit is very close to my heart. That comes from a combination of my first two sons, Ashmit and Adit. So Adit and Ashmit, Aashdit. Very simple, very emotional, very personal.
That's great. And you were talking about your bloodline sons as well.
Yes.
So, ma'am, again, very important question.
All of them are my bloodline, all six of them.
Okay, my bad. So, ma'am, one important question, like as a woman, I have for you is that how do you balance your like personal life and professional life?
Smartly. So I believe giving quality time when needed is what is most important rather than the quantity of time. Thankfully, we are in a country where we have a very strong support system in terms of ability to afford manpower and your family and friends. So that helps. I do not shy away from asking for help. Anytime I need help, pick up the phone. This is what I have. I need help. Please help. So that has helped a lot. And I think bringing up my sons right. So they also kind of know that all of us have importances and a role to play in the family and for the society. They respect and align accordingly.
So, what work-life advice, like work-life balance advice, would you give to younger women entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general?
Work-life balance.
Because like I have personally seen there are a lot of entrepreneurs who are workaholics. They do not have time for even themselves. They're just working, like hours of working and all. No time for family, and they're like family are complaining about it. So how do you find that work-life balance?
I think it is, there's a concept called boxing, time boxing. It is very important that you do your time boxing, because humanly it is not possible to give 100% effort 18 hours a day. You would be giving 100%, let's say for 8 hours, 10 hours, and then your efficiency rate goes down. Going back to the family kind of recharges you. So even if you do that 1 hour, 1.5 hours, or like I said, quality time, where you give your 100% to your family, the family is happy, you can go back to your work. So during the days when my kids were smaller and I used to go home, and 8 to 10 exclusively used to be for my family. I used to work then from 10 to 2 or 10 to 3. But then that 2 hours helped me recharge from whatever work I had done from 10 in the morning till 8 at night. Because I'm switching off my brain, and then my brain also gets that 2 hours of rest. I get my dopamine, I get all the positive energy, and then at 10 I switch back on. And that has been very effective in terms of work efficiency, the kind of decisions I have been able to make, the kind of strategies that I've been able to do, my deliverables, all the way better.
You had to learn so much. I remember on the day of conclave, you were talking about women empowerment, and I also have one doubt in my mind. You said that Aashdit Foundation is your daughter. So why do you call it as your daughter? And did you ever face gender bias in your career as an entrepreneur, and maybe in your corporate life?
In my corporate life, I had to deal with agents, 99% of whom were male. But if you know what you want, I think that has shown through everywhere, from dealing with agents in terms of money, and we were talking about money, we were talking about finances. So initially that hesitance for speaking numbers with the women is there, but they figure out that okay, this lady knows what she's talking about. In entrepreneurship journey, there have been minor cases, there have been major cases, but again, like I said, if you know what you want, if you have that very structured in your head, people sooner or later align to that. So, I mean, we have funny cases like we were also participating in the Utkarsh fair, which was there, and my event manager was setting up the stall, and he was quoting a price, and I was not very comfortable, and we were negotiating that. And he is like, मैडम शायद आपको पता नहीं होगा, कटक आने जाने का 1000 रुपए का पेट्रोल लगता है. So he is like, मैम तो गाड़ी में आती है, उनको क्या पता है? I said, don't tell me, teach me that. I run a business, I know my numbers. So which put him in his place. So that smaller and larger biases are always there. But that doesn't mean that if you are sure about what you want, if you are focused about what you want, you will not get what you want.
I also feel like that, especially in this sector, say for example, the Bollywood film industry, there we see that there is a gender bias, and maybe the female lead actresses are not getting paid as much as the male actors. But I feel like in entrepreneurship, it is not that. I mean, usually females do get equal value than men. What do you think about that? Because if your finances are well tracked and you own a company, I guess there is equality. Do you feel like, or maybe do you feel that there might be any differences or difficulties which a woman might face as an entrepreneur?
In terms of being able to build a company, or in terms of able to generate revenues equivalent to that?
Being able to build a company.
There are certain physical limitations, I would not deny that. But being able to build a company, I don't think there are any major differences. Some of the leading entrepreneurs today are women. You look at Nykaa, you look at Sugar Cosmetics, you look at the president of our country. So, but yes, we cannot ignore the fact that there are certain physical limitations about being a woman, and we have to take that in the stride because there are a lot of advantages of being a woman.
So I have a very vague knowledge about the Odisha government, giving leverage to female entrepreneurs. So if you could just clarify, like what is the take on Odisha government promoting, because Odisha is doing great in terms of businesses and startups. So I recently saw a post where they also went international. So what is your take on Odisha government supporting female entrepreneurs?
So for women entrepreneurs, I think women are given an additional leeway in terms of subsidies when it comes to setting up manufacturing units. So if a general candidate gets 30% subsidy, a woman gets 35 to 40% subsidy, depending on scheme to scheme. So that's an added leverage that we have when we talk about startups. For the startup funds, there is an additional fund that is given to women entrepreneurs. I think during the Utkarsh Odisha, our Honorable CM has also promised a complete MSME industrial park for women, where you would have all the facilities aligned and designed to make it more compatible for women entrepreneurs to take the next step ahead. We do have a lot of women entrepreneurs in Odisha, and a lot of them are upcoming, but majority of them are still in a micro stage. So for them to move from micro to small or medium, their support ecosystem has been committed by the government. And overall, if you walk into any department, they have been very supportive in terms of guiding you for the compliances needed, in terms of guiding you for the paperwork needed for getting your unit set up.
Okay. So ma'am, there are a few startups, like even I have seen student startups in my university as well, who like lack the motivation to continue working on it, and they just stop midway. Like the startup is dead. I mean, I would not say it fails, it gets dead because there's no motivation, they get other priorities. So, and even in the bigger market sector, there are startups who are not able to sustain. So what do you think is the reason for the startups not being able to keep themselves in the market for a longer period of time?
I think the primary reason, according to me, it might be different from person to person, is most of the younger student startups do not do enough research before getting into this entrepreneur fad. It is either because you see something and you jump into it without understanding in depth what the market is, what the numbers are, what is your top line, what is your bottom line. So that homework has not been done. So if you do your homework properly, if you know your numbers properly, you set your stop losses, you set your goals, calculate your numbers. If I'm giving myself 1 year or 365 days, this is what I will achieve in each quarter. Quantify rather than हाँ नहीं कुछ करना है, कुछ तो कर लेते हैं. Somebody is doing ad. So rather than going intangible, if you quantify, make it tangible, the possibility of conversion, the possibility of success becomes much higher.
100% agree. So ma'am, you also mentioned about one of your leadership traits, which I also mentioned that it's a good, it is a feature of a great leader. How do you know entrepreneurship is for you? Because I personally feel like I have watched a lot of podcasts earlier. Like I love watching podcasts. So what I have learned is that entrepreneurship is not for everyone.
True.
So how do you know that it is for you? Like you should go in this sector and not go for the regular 9 to 5 job. And how would you just like look into it? Like how do you perceive it? Like what are the steps? Like if you know that entrepreneurship is for you, how would you move forward with it?
Okay. I think again when you're talking about entrepreneurship, at the way you phrase the question, you make it sound like a career option. कि मैं जॉब करूँगी या entrepreneurship करूँगी. Entrepreneurship is deeper than that.
Okay.
It has to be passion and problem doing. There is a problem that I see and I want to do something about it, and how badly do I want to do something about it. And entrepreneurship is just a medium for solving that problem, because I see nobody else is doing it, or nobody else can understand the way I want to do it, or do it as fast or as well as I can do it. I want to do it myself. And how do I do it myself? Is by setting up my own company, because that is how legally I will make everything possible. So when internally first, like I said, internally you have to do the research. What do I want to do? Why do I want to do it? And how do I want to do it? So once you've solved those 3 basic questions, you may be able to solve that particular problem by doing a job also. If that is not an option, it is something that you want to do in a way that is unique to you, your thoughts are unique, your solutions are unique, and you want to go the full mile, then you take entrepreneurship as a journey.
I would take the word internal research. Like I feel like that is very important.
Yes, it is.
Most of us lack that, and like you said, research about what you actually want to do. So I'll keep that word with me. And coming to my question for leadership, I have been waiting to ask this. According to you, I mean you can mention as many as you want, but what do you feel like can be the top 3 most important thing of a leader? Like to be a great leader, top 3 most important thing according to you?
Okay. I think if I had to name top 3 qualities as a leader, first would be clarity of thought. The second would be empathy.
Why empathy?
As a leader, you have to realize that you have to work with a team. And everybody may not be as energetic, as committed, as visioned as you are. So unless you take that into mind, you will end up becoming frustrated. It's only when you take their limitations into mind and work with that, you will be able to pull a team together. It is a leader's responsibility to ensure that everybody comes together as a team, and everybody has different skill sets, everybody has different weaknesses. So if I'm not empathetic towards their weaknesses and judge everybody by my parameters, there will be a lot of people who will fall short. I will not be able to build my team. That's why empathy is important.
Okay.
And the third most important thing is able to communicate properly.
Will you please elaborate?
So I may be very clear about what I want. If I'm not able to communicate in a way that the larger masses can understand, I'll not be able to get the results that I want. So the clarity of communication is very important for the team to be able to deliver what you want.
Which also brings me to a point that in the entrepreneurship journey, I feel like when you're building a team management is also very important. So have you ever had difficulties doing that, or maybe had a bad time dealing with the team, or maybe the team is not performing as per your expectations, or maybe any failure while building your company?
So that's why I said empathy is important. You would face phases where the team is not as passionate as you are, because you are passionate because it's your baby.
Yes.
It's not their baby. So you have to understand that, keep in mind that, and then set your expectations.
Okay. So we are done with the failure part. So your proudest moments or your great achievements which you are proud of, you would like to share?
I think my proudest moment is yet to come. I have some visions in mind. I will share them once I reach there. But the journey has been an exciting one, and I strongly believe in celebrating every small step that we take. Be it our first corporate order, first international order for our foundation, first good project written. Even when people come back and tell you, ma'am, I am who I am today because of what you taught me. Or somebody comes back and tells you, this business which you helped us set up is now doing well. I can send my child to school because of the extra earnings that I have. All those are moments of pride for me.
Do you still wish to complete your PhD?
I don't know, it's still aspirational. Let's see.
Why, it's a very personal question, but why do you feel like even after having such successful businesses, you would want to do your PhD?
That's an interesting question. Actually, it's more because I have read so much and I have so much of knowledge about whatever I'm doing. When I talk to people, most of them think that I am a doctorate in that subject. And they tend to address me as Dr. Surekha, did you do this? And deep inside, I feel like a fraud. Yeah, doctor to hu nahi. And it is difficult every time to go and tell them, no, I'm not a doctor. No, I'm not a doctor. I'm just Surekha. And I'm perfectly happy with it. But when they keep coming back, out of respect, out of the in-depth knowledge of my subject about business, then लगता है नहीं चलो कर ही लेते so that you justify what people is saying.
Do you think it's peer pressure
There
or
is-
societal expectation?
No, there is no societal expectation. It is just the respect that people give because of the knowledge, and some internal, I think, kick coming in that चलो ये भी कर ही लेते हैं to justify when people say doctor. That's as simple as that.
So for me, my father, it's again a very personal side of the story. My father always wanted me to be a doctor. And I said, you want the DR in front of my name? I can get it by doing PhD. So that's another take of PhD from my side. But coming back, what is next for Aashdit Foundation? What's the new vision for it?
So for this year, we are working on some mega projects. Like I said, I am clubbing them in entrepreneurship and climate together. We are just on the verge of signing a big contract where we will be trying to map the carbon footprint of 10,000 hectares of land in Odisha. and we would be empowering women to use the software to map the carbon and do value added products from whatever they are growing there. So that is one of the biggest projects that we are working on right now, and we are also planning to set up a center of excellence for climate resilient food systems here in Odisha, which would also empower women to have an added alternate livelihood opportunity while a better understanding of the land.
So you said you are clubbing up women entrepreneur empowerment and climate together. Why these two together?
Why not?
Like, how is it related to women empowerment, climate change?
See, when we look at climate, the greatest change can happen, or carbon footprint, the greatest change can happen in two ways. One is we control the carbon dioxide production from industries. One is we increase the oxygen production from agriculture. So agriculture is where I specialize. So if you have to increase the oxygen production in agriculture, if you have studied agriculture, you would know that women contribute to 40% of the entire sowing process. So if you look at all the back-breaking work that happens when we are looking at rice cultivation, where you have to actually bend forward and do the rice planting, rice paddy, which is the largest production. There's a lot of role that women play. So if I'm empowering them and ensuring that they also have their financial independence, it is a win-win for them. And I'm also ensuring that women are contributing to the economy when the country grows. They are the movers and shakers of this society. A woman decides what happens in the house. If you look at rural societies, tribal societies, the woman decides how the society is run. So if they are educated, they are empowered, we will be making a large systemic change. Hence women.
Got it. So, ma'am, I want to go back a little bit.
Sure.
And you talked about insurance. So, what importance of insurance do you feel like? I would phrase it this way that why do you feel like insurance is important for especially middle class people? How important it is?
Let me see how I phrase that for you. It would be, so if you look at insurance, insurance is a way of transferring your risk from yourself to another person. That's what insurance logically is, by paying a small amount of premium.
Okay.
That's the definition of insurance, which means I pay a small, like a security guard. I pay a small amount of premium every year so that when there is a major risk happening, that security guard takes care of that huge risk that has happened and I am taken care of. In a middle class family, the ability to take care of that huge risk is very low. So insurance is a better, more financially viable option for them. So might be a health insurance, might be a home insurance. Give you a case to point on a personal basis, we never do home insurance.
Why?
We don't. Indian culture, क्या होगा मेरे घर को?
Right.
Look at the cases in the last 30 days, there must be, every week there are 2 robberies. Look, pick up the newspaper. If the house was insured, you would have got at least some portion of that generational wealth or hard-earned wealth back. गहने जो लोगों ने सारी जिंदगी बचा के बनाए थे, is gone, blink of an eye. How do you replace that? LA में फायर लगा था, everything gone, blink of an eye. If those houses were not insured, that's a huge setback. Health today is becoming expensive day by day. You don't have an insurance, you walk into a hospital, an entire 10-year saving is gone in 10 days.
Right. So you talked about generation wealth. Very weirdly, this question came into my mind. What generational changes do you see in women? I mean, women of your generation and our generation, and the women like prior to you. What changes do you see in them?
In terms of spending pattern, in terms of thinking pattern.
In terms of thinking pattern.
In terms of thinking pattern, I think the women of today have an exposure to lot more facets of life. Women of today are more sure about what they want. Women of today want to play a larger role in building a better society rather than just contributing to building the family. Women, let's say our mom's times, their world was more limited to the family, their contribution was more limited to the family. Women of today want to play a larger role, more active role. So there I see a very large tactical shift.
Okay, like be it a man or a woman, being employed is very important. Like being self-independent is important. So what is your take on that?
I envy women who can do that, and I think that's not a bad place to be. Being a homemaker is a very important role, and we should not undermine that. And women who want to be just that is absolutely okay. It is a personal choice. Being financially independent is important rather than being employed. You may be financially independent by being employed or by doing something on your own. Sometimes you have the opportunity, sometimes you don't. So let's say you are staying in a tier 2, tier 3 city where you may not have the kind of opportunity or employment that you have been educated for. So then you may look for options of financial independence. There are a lot of avenues for that. You may freelance, you may consult. But it's still also very okay to be a homemaker. I would not undermine that.
Alright. So which brings me almost to the end of the podcast. It could be any number. Your most top important advices for the young entrepreneurs who are just starting.
We're just getting started. I think I gave one advice earlier, which is do your research. That is very, very important.
Do your
internal, external research.
market
Do your
research.
internal
Yeah.
research, do your research on what you want to do. Second is know your market. And third is know your numbers. You have to be very good on Excel. Start with Excel, day one. ये मेरा खर्चा है, ये मेरा income है. You have to know your numbers. You want to get into business, you have to know your numbers. There is no second guessing that.
Alright. So that is it, ma'am. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Anjali. It was a pleasure talking to you.
We hope you really had a good time.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for tuning in. For more such amazing content, like, share and subscribe and keep following FEDKIIT.